me record this. Hey everyone, it's Holly. I am just getting ready to get started. I know a couple more people are joining, so make sure that you mute yourself so that you don't hear all the background noise and that you're able to hear me, and we're going to get started in just a few minutes. So I wanted to give you guys a few logistics before we get started. So this is probably going to last about 40 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it to a half hour because I know we're all super busy, but it'll probably last around 40 minutes. You should have your worksheet printed out. Some of you on your video screens may see people at the top. Some of you may only see yourself. But the way that we're going to do this is there should be a chat button here at the bottom right. So if you guys have questions, just make sure to enter your question in the chat, and then I will try to answer the questions as I go. So those are the logistics. Hopefully you have your sheets, and hopefully you guys have a drink of choice. I decided I am not drinking for the new year, so I have tea, and I really wish it was wine, but we're just going to go with it. So new year, new goals. So again, make sure if you guys have questions, you go in the chat. And yeah, so let's get started. So I just, again, wanted to thank everyone for joining on a cold Wednesday night. It's freezing here in Ohio. One of the things I always hear is, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I have goals and I don't know where to start. I'm tired of restarting. I start things and I give up and I give in. And what I really want to provide you is, by the end of this discussion, that you will have the tools to get your goals started, and better yet, make sure that you are focusing on the right things, because we can all get started, but if we're focusing on the wrong things, we're just really busy and we don't feel like we're actually getting anything done. So I hope you guys are ready. Raise your hand, give me a comment if you're ready. Let me know that you're here. And again, some of you might see other people. I see the hands. Some of you might not. So, all right. So I really would like you to stick with me through the end. I'm going to share exactly how I get it done, how to keep yourself accountable, and we're going to talk about how you guys can use this on a daily basis. You can even take it down to an hourly basis if you want to. And for those of you who stick with me till the end, I'm going to do a drawing at the end for this awesome kit that I just got from one of my coaches. It is from one of my favorite books. It's called The Universe Has Your Back. It is a little out there, but it's really very motivating. So it's a deck of cards, and every day you draw a card, or whenever you're feeling like you need some inspiration. And today my card was, I am the dreamer of my dream. But there's all kinds of cool illustrations and quotes. And so I've taken them to work a few times. I think my team thinks I'm a little nutty, but it's definitely motivating. So stick with me. I'm going to give you the tools. You have a chance to win this. So it's going to be fun. So before I get into the actual worksheet, I thought you probably are asking, well, why should I listen to you? Maybe you guys have followed me on social media. Maybe we are friends and we have met in person. I can't see everyone's names that has joined right now, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background of how I got into this. So I work full time. I have twin toddlers. I do coaching on the side, so I'm busy. I feel like we can all relate to busy. I actually wrote down, I'm freaking busy. That was like underlined. But I also want to make time for myself. I have learned that it's important. I want to feel energetic. I want to have energy to do things that I like to do, not just things that I have to do. And I want to figure out a way to feel comfortable in my own skin, be happy with myself, and most importantly, figure out the things that matter most. So it goes back to not just doing a list of things, but making sure that you're doing the right things. So for the last 3 years, I've been on this journey, I call it. I had twins, well, they're 4 now, but after I had the twins, I was just overwhelmed, and I felt like I was having this like out of body experience about how in the heck am I supposed to have a job and have 2 kids and do all of these things at the same time and still have some sort of life. So I can tell you from personal experience that this is what has worked for me. And while I still have days where I'm overwhelmed and busy, I feel like I have taken a really close look at my priorities, at my schedule. I've taken the time to write down what I want, what my dreams are. I've learned to share them. And so really this is my process that I'm sort of a walking, living example of how it's worked. And the second piece of that is I actually have an MBA in strategy, which I don't talk about a lot. But I do have a business background, and then I did go to school for strategic prioritization, which is what I do every day for really large companies. And I sort of take their mess and I make it into something that we can have tangible outcomes from. So at the end of last year, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this for myself and for my friends and for people that I like instead of a complicated IT system? So that's my background. I'm really good at identifying issues and finding the gaps and making recommendations. And I'm just doing it with something that I like right now. And after that, my last piece of information is I am addicted to leadership and motivational books. And if you and I have talked at all, I have probably recommended a book to you. I have probably talked to you about reading and how important it is to work into your day. And I have read probably 32, I think I counted this morning, leadership books in the last 2 years. So I have a lot of good information to share. So I hope that makes you guys want to stick with me and learn the process. But the bottom line is I do this daily in multiple facets, and I really love it. So I hope that is helpful for you. But all right, so let's get started. For those of you guys that just joined, I see a couple people that joined. I will send out the recording, and you can rewind and hear that intro again. But let's jump in to the worksheet. So make sure that if you have questions, again, there's a chat down here, and you can type in your questions, and I will try to answer them. So the first page of the worksheet is called the brain dump, and this is actually my favorite part. So myth number one is I don't know where to start, and I hear that a lot. And so the number one thing that you can do is give yourself a quiet moment to sit down and really understand what you want. So I want us to take, it says 5 minutes, we're gonna take 2 minutes, but I want you to take 2 minutes and think about one word that will represent you in 2018. And I've talked about this a lot on my blog and my posts, but just think about that word and write it in really big letters. So I did this exercise this evening, actually. It's the second time I've done it. And I actually had 2 words. Mine was simplify. And then I had like a phrase, but it was go all in. There's no wrong way to do this. There's multiple ways that you can do it. But just think of your word and just take a second to think of your word. So I'll give you a second. After you think of your word, I want you guys to take a few minutes to just write what comes to your mind. And this is the fun part. Like, you can draw pictures. If you like to color, you can draw shapes, whatever comes to you. But you just write things down that you want to focus on. So as an example, when I did mine, I wrote beach. I love beach vacations. I wrote yoga. I wrote vacation. Again, apparently vacation's on my mind today. I wrote family. I wrote date night. I wrote write a book. I wrote capsule wardrobe, which is kind of random, but I'm like really into cleaning out my closet right now. And that just came up. I wrote flexible schedule because for me, that is something that has been a work goal and a career goal for me, is to find a flexible schedule. But it can be anything that you guys are thinking. So take a minute. I'm going to set my timer, and I really just want you to think about the words that come to you, draw some pictures, whatever you would like to do. But the number one myth that I hear is I don't know where to start, and we are going to start. So this is how you start. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to write that down. If you guys have questions as we go, make sure to type them in and I'll check them. Does anyone want to share their words in the chat? Anyone? It's okay. All right, we're going to take about 30 more seconds. All right. So you guys can come back to this. I want to make sure we fit it all in tonight, and I want to be respectful of your time. So make sure that if you don't get everything in, come back to this. This is something you can print out multiple times. It's meant to be easy and fun and something that you can do anytime. And you can change your mind. So if you have different goals tomorrow, that's totally fine. All right, so now we're on to page 2. So we're going to talk about this year. So we started really high and just sort of got creative, and now we're going to talk about this year. So our goal is to think about the big picture, which we've done, and then break it into manageable actions throughout each month and each year. So what I'd like you to do is you'll see that it's broken out into be, feel, do, have. So I'd like you to look at those words and think about 6 to 8 things that describe who you want to be, how you want to feel, think about the environment around you, and really anything that comes to you as it relates to that. So as an example for be, I have it actually on my whiteboard on my desk, so I see it every day. I want to be at the beach. I am like all over vacations today. And I want to be more present daily. So that's been a big theme of mine because I feel like there's so much social media and everyone's on their phone all the time. And so that's been a really big goal for me. For feel, I wrote healthy, strong. I like to write in big Sharpie markers. Healthy, strong, and comfortable in my own skin. So I have some big fitness goals that I'm working towards this year, and so that's sort of how I want to feel. In terms of I have some income goals. I talked a lot about my closet, and I really want it to be simple. I'd like my kids to be happy, like whatever you guys think. Just take a few minutes, and usually I do 1 to 2 per category. But if you feel stuck, you want to go back to your list. So one of the things I had on my brain dump was yoga, which then relates back to feeling healthy and strong. So you can kind of see how they correlate, but just think about it for a second. So we're going to do this for, let me give you guys 2 minutes. So that's like 30 seconds per category. Again, you can take more time as we go, but just think about it for a few minutes. Got about 1 more minute to go. And again, if you get stuck, go back to the brainstorming and just think about high level and then try to break it down just a little bit. So just to regroup, the first myth that we always hear is, I don't know where to start. So we've started. We've taken our brainstorm and we've broken it down into how we want to be and how we want to feel and what we want to do and what we want to have. In about 10 seconds. All right, so now we are going to break it into the month. Now, this is something that I recommend that you guys do every single month. You can go back and redo your year every time, but every month at the beginning of the month, I sit down and I look at my calendar and I do an activity like this. Now, it's never looked as cute as this because this is new and I just did this year, but I actually went through and did this month based on what I've learned the last couple of years. So I'd like you to look back at what you wrote down for those be, feel, do, have categories. And then I want you to list out your top priorities for the month that you would like to accomplish, because we can't do everything, right? So the myth that I always hear after I don't know where to start is I'm overwhelmed. I have too much to do. So we're going to bust that myth and we're going to say, okay, I know where to start. I made some goals and now I'm going to start with these 3 things. And it doesn't have to be 3, but 3 is kind of the number that I always pick. So as an example, one of my brain dump items was to have a flexible schedule and then be more present. So one of my priorities on this list that I had was my AM routine. So I wrote AM routine was my priority. I want to figure it out. And then in parentheses, I just put no rush. So that was just a note for me that I don't want to rush out the door in the morning. Like that is one of my goals this month. The second item that I wrote in the second box under priority was yoga, because I want to be strong and I want to feel healthy and I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. And I've been really wanting to go to a hot yoga class. So I wrote hot yoga down. And then priority number 3 that I wrote that I want to do this month, because family has been a really big priority for me, is date night. So it's really hard for my husband and I to get out, and it takes a lot of coordination for us to get a sitter. So I wrote date night because I knew that would take some effort. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to focus on this month. So I started with my priority, AM routine. And then in the next box where it says activity, I thought about, okay, what do I want to do? So as an example for AM routine, I said I would like to purchase the Miracle Morning book because Holly, in this case me recommending to you, recommended it. And then I wrote I would like to get up 15 minutes early. And then my third activity for that was to pack my lunch the night before. So my AM routine was for me getting on a flexible schedule, and then these are the 3 activities that I would like to do. So the last part of this spreadsheet that we're going to do in this phase right now is to think about the hours per week that it would take you to do this. So as an example, if yoga was your priority, maybe you want to go to 2 yoga classes a week, or a month. So that's 2 hours out of the month. So I want you to look at the priority, the activities, and just an estimated time. It doesn't have to be down to the minute, but just think about how many hours. So as an example, date night would be your priority. Your activity might be like making a reservation and scheduling a babysitter. And then the hours per week maybe would be like 4 hours, or hours per month, I'm sorry. So we're going to take, this takes a little bit longer. We are going to let's take 4 minutes and really start to think through that. And really think about activities that you can truly accomplish this month that goes back to your yearly and brainstorming goals. So myth number 1, I don't know where to start. We started. Myth number 2, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. Well, now we're going to break it down into these are the top priorities. So go ahead and schedule. Don't do the scheduled part. We're going to do that next. So just think about the priority, the activities, and the amount of time that you think it'll take. And if you want to do more than 3, you can just pull out multiple copies. Totally flexible. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. You guys getting some good stuff? I don't know. I was really excited when I did this. I'm like, I gotta book that yoga class and dinner out, which makes me really excited because then I don't have to cook. Well, excited until we have to pay the babysitter, which is ridiculously expensive. All right. Lost my timer. About 1 minute to go. And again, you could spend an hour on this if you want to. It's totally up to you. I tend to do better in like spurts of time. So I think when I did this by myself, it maybe took me like a half hour. But I had sort of thought about it before. If you hadn't thought about it at all, I'd probably spend like an hour on it. Or if you're going to come back and revisit this every month, then it'll get easier. But you always want to go back to your year and your brainstorm. So, and then do your monthly at the beginning of every month. All right, about 10 seconds. Okay, so now this is the fun part. This is my favorite part. Once you have your monthly goals, I want you to put it side by side to the weekly one. So we have literally worked our way down. So myth number 1 was, do you guys know this now? I don't know where to start. Totally got that out. Myth number 2, I'm overwhelmed. Well, no, you're not, because we just talked about what your priorities are for the month. So we're not going to feel overwhelmed. And when we do, we're going to go back to this list and we're going to say, does it fall in these categories? Because if it doesn't, we're not going to worry about it for right now. Maybe it'll go on next month's. So now we're going to talk about week. So the I'm exhausted is going to go away in time. There are still bad days, but in general, we're going to look at our goals and priorities from the month, and we are going to pick the things that we're going to focus on this week. So this is where you can get a little creative, but as an example, I wrote the major goals that I am focusing on this week. So I said I'm going to schedule a babysitter, because that goes back to date night, which goes back to family time. I'm going to try a hot yoga class, so I'm actually going to book the class, and then I'm going to move my alarm back 15 minutes. And then I'm going to go in my calendar, and this is where it gets fun, and I'm going to add it. So we have a Google shared family calendar that we use. And so anything that's family related, we put on that calendar. So you can use that. I highly, highly recommend that. It's helped us so much in terms of scheduling. If you don't, I'm looking for my planner, you can use a really simple planner. I actually have an interesting story about planners, but save that. And here you go. Just write it down. Write it down on a day. So if you want to go to a yoga class, schedule it and write down what day you're going to do it. If you want to get up early 3 days out of the week, write down that you're going to get up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and write it down like right now. Don't wait until next week or the next week. Write it down. So I want you to take a couple of minutes and actually schedule when you're going to do what you just wrote down that you wanted to get done in the month. And you can take it 1 week at a time. So today's Wednesday, just schedule through Sunday if you want, and then you can start Sunday again for the following week. I typically schedule my weeks on Sunday morning. So I will take this and I will do it Sunday morning. I post about it a lot. I take like a half hour while everyone's still asleep. It's like the really relaxing time. And I think about, what am I going to do this week? I'm going to go to yoga. I'm going to move my alarm clock. I'm going to order a journal. Whatever those things are, that's what I write down, and I plan it for the week. So I want you guys to take a second to do that. You can use the second half of the page. So if you look at the this week piece, so I want you to write down your major goals. But then your priority planner is more of this like creative space. I like to doodle, as you can see, and draw. Some people don't like that. So it's totally up to you how you want to use this. But it's more of, I stick this in my planner and I say, what is urgent? So for me, urgent was I needed to order a book, which is really not that urgent, but I felt like it was. And then I put decisions made. Where are we going to go for date night? Do we like the sitter? It's really just a place to add some notes. So just think about, are there things that you can delegate? So maybe there's something that you want to get done, like date night, and your husband can make the reservation. So under delegate, you can get it done without actually doing it. So delegate box is a good one. Waiting or pending, maybe you're waiting on a decision from somebody, or you're waiting on feedback for something, or maybe you have an appointment and you're waiting for somebody to confirm it. And then that next week box is really something that you think about maybe midweek, and you're like, you know what, it's not a priority this week, I'm just going to do it next week. And it really helps you keep things in order. So we're going to go another 2 minutes here. If you guys have questions, please let me know. This is really where the rubber hits the road, right? So we spent all this time planning, but this is where you're actually going to do it. And putting it on your calendar is the number one thing that you can do. Just started the timer for 2 minutes. But the other thing that you can do is color code. So this is one of my like super fun tips from elementary school. I used to color code my homework. So maybe I should have known then that I was like a super organizer. But I would do each subject in a different color. Like I remember this very vividly. Like history was red and spelling was green. So I put all of our family stuff in pink on my calendar, and I put all my work stuff in blue. So if I start to see more blue than pink, it's like a visual to me that I'm working too much, or maybe I'm spending too much time with my family, which I don't really think can happen, but maybe you just need a break. Or you could put like your self-care items in green. So maybe every once in a while you should see some green pop up on your calendar so that you're doing some things for yourself. So we got about 1 minute to go here, but I want you guys to walk away with something in your calendar. Put something in your calendar that you guys are going to do based on your priorities. About 30 seconds. Okay, so wave your hands or give me a big smile if you guys scheduled something that you're excited about. Anyone? Okay, I see a few. That's exciting. So the last piece is a daily to-do list, and it's totally up to you if you want to use this. I print it out and use it as a reminder, but you can print out multiple copies and you could actually use this as your planner if you wanted. But what I do is I take my weekly list and I say, what am I going to do today? So I've literally broken it down into, okay, I just put everything on my schedule. So today's Monday and my schedule says go to yoga, um, I put be present for dinner and discuss date night. That's what I sort of moved down into my daily to-do list. So you can fill that out per day. And then at the top, I just listed some things that I do on a daily basis that I feel like inspire you to just keep going, because it does take a little bit of extra effort to do this, but I promise you that it takes this extra stress off, right? Because we go back to our myths. I don't know where to start. Well, we do know where to start now. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Well, you shouldn't feel overwhelmed because we know what our priorities are. And if it doesn't align with these priorities, then we're just going to put it in this box that it's waiting or pending, or we're going to do it the next week. Doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It's just going to move out a little bit. And then myth number 3 is I'm exhausted. I'm doing too much. Well, you should really only be focused on a couple things a day, because there's only so much time in the day, and there's no way that we can get everything that we want to do done. So we're just going to focus on the things that are the most important. So the first thing that I do every morning, and I talk about this a lot, is my AM routine. So I put that on there and I said review a daily mantra, which is where these cute little cards come in. But you should write down some quotes that inspire you. And so when you're feeling like you just can't keep going, or you need an extra boost, you can go here, you can write it on your list, and get a little inspired. So review your action list. I actually do that before I go to bed at night, along with reviewing my calendar. And then I do it first thing in the morning after I go through my routine. So I try really hard not to check email and things like that, and really just focus on what my to-dos are. Tidy up and clean your workspace. So there are studies shown that a clean workspace really helps you become more productive. Maybe it's, I hate cleaning up toys at night, but maybe it's just putting them in the corner so that when you're watching TV, you're not just staring at a mess, and it's calming and it makes you feel like you've accomplished something. So tidying up your workspace is something to do every day. Fill your tank. So doing things like this, reading a book, listening to PD, personal development, you should actually put that on your calendar. So remember I talked about the color coding and I said that my self-care was blue. So maybe reading a book for 20 minutes a weekend is one of your goals, because it relates back to finishing a book or learning a new skill. It's important for you to fill your tank, and doing things like this totally helps. Move your body. I always talk about that, but just being active makes you feel better. And then check in. I call them big rocks, but check in with your big rocks. So you have your to-do list and your weekly list, but maybe hang your brainstorming list on your wall or on your fridge. I actually have mine on my refrigerator so that I see it in the morning, and it just reminds me of why I'm getting up early, or maybe after a long day, why I'm doing things like this. It's just important to me. So I hope that the daily to-do list is helpful for you guys. My goal was really to provide a lot of different ways for you to plan and organize yourself, whether you're a list person or you're a creative person, or you have to have like, I have to do it A through B and that's it. It's totally up to you. So that's how the packet works. We have a couple minutes left, so I want to ask you this. I want to ask you to think back and think about how valuable it was for you to take time to write things like this down. So I know we probably didn't get through everything, but for you to take time to write something down that was important to you and to schedule something that was important to you. And how much time do you think that that might have saved you? Just think about it for a second. And maybe how long have you delayed doing something because you didn't have it written down, or you didn't have a list, or maybe you're scared to write it down? I know that happens to me too. So as an example, I have been really working towards a flexible job, and I just switched jobs this year. And I delayed it for an entire year until I went through an exercise like this, and I actually wrote down that I wanted a flexible schedule. Like, it never came out to me that that's what I wanted until I wrote it down. And then once I wrote it down, like a month later, I applied for a different job. So I probably wasted a year trying to figure this out until I went through an exercise like this. So just think about that number. I think it's important to understand how it can save you time and how it can really help you focus on your dreams and what you want out of your day-to-day life, and not necessarily those big vacations. So I always say, what if you spent 20 minutes a week on priorities? And in the end, it would save you a year or 6 months, or maybe it gets you that new job, or maybe it gets you going to yoga with your best friend, or maybe it gets you going to yoga and meeting someone, or whatever that is. So as we close, you can kind of think of it in this way. You can implement the system to focus on your priorities, or you can waste a year and use this as a paperweight, which I hope that you don't do, because it's really important to me that you use the tool and you do what we've gone through to keep yourself accountable. But, of course, keeping yourself accountable is the hard part. So in my experience, having the tools is one thing, but having the community and the accountability is the other thing, right? So it's nice to have someone to check in and to say, hey, maybe you should try this, or this isn't going well. Help, what do I need to do? So I'm really excited because this is the first webinar that I've done all year, but I'd like to offer you guys for attending, obviously the toolkit, which you've downloaded, but I am doing what I'm calling a Shine session. I can't say it that fast, which maybe some of you guys have seen on my blog. I normally charge $200 for these, but because this is my first webinar, I'm going to offer it free. So it's 20 minutes with me. We'll walk through your plan to talk through your priorities. So we'll walk through this. I have a survey that we'll do beforehand, and then we'll go one-on-one and talk about organizational and motivational recommendations. And then at the end of the 20-minute session, I will provide you a PDF that sort of lays it out for you, so you'll have it to take away with you and sort of add it to your list. So to me, having the tools and having the accountability is the secret sauce, and I really appreciate you guys joining me and accompanying me on this journey, because it's a journey for me too. So I wanted to offer that to you guys for attending. So today you can walk away with your plan, and then you can walk away with your recommendations from our Shine session. And my favorite quote is to just shine brightly. So I hope that after you guys have our Shine session that you will be shining a lot more brightly and have a lot of awesome things at your fingertips to keep you going. And as a bonus for signing up for the Shine session over Christmas, I actually wrote I'm calling it an ebook, but it is a 30-day restart your routine guide. So it's a guide of every single day. There's one thing that you're going to do. So at the end of 30 days, you will accomplish 30 tasks that help you restart your routine. So the goal is you now have this to-do list. We're going to have an awesome Shine session. And then you're going to have the ebook of a 30-day challenge that you can do and really restart your routine. So I hope you guys are excited about this. I'm really excited about it. I am going to send this out as a replay. It's going to cut me off in about a minute. So I will send this out as a replay. I'm going to send the link out to the Shine sessions. You guys have the workbook. So if you have questions, please message me. The replay will go out later tonight. And thank you guys so much for joining. It's awesome seeing your faces. I can see most of you up there. And if you have questions, let me know. So thanks, guys. Have a good night. Happy Wednesday. Bye.